So a couple of days ago, West Ham started to be linked with a very interesting player, that player being Harvey Elliott. And now this is a player that I thought West Ham would never be linked with, not because he's not good enough, just because I thought he'd go on to be a mainstay of that Liverpool team. A couple of seasons ago showed really good promise. But there have been some stumbling blocks for the player, and that now has allowed West Ham to potentially be involved in the race as he leaves Anfield. Hello everyone, how you doing? This is Alex on Irons, and yeah, we're going to discuss Harvey Elliott today, mainly because it's a player that excites me. Again, it fits into the two camps of the signings that I've spoken about, whether it's a player I don't know versus a player that I would always get on FIFA/Football Manager because of their potential. And Harvey Elliott's always been one of those. I also come from a family of Liverpool supporters, so I've always kind of kept tabs on him. Also, one of my best mates is a Liverpool fan as well, so in recent years I've been seeing a lot of Harvey Elliott. But when he's on the pitch, that is a big issue for him at the minute, is minutes. He's not really being played that much at Liverpool. Last season he made 6 starts across all of the competitions, and yes, of course he would have had injuries at the start of the season. He did break his foot in September, but he didn't really get back into the groove of the season, didn't really get picked by Arne Slot, would come on off the bench a lot, but that wouldn't really equate to goals, and it wouldn't really give enough time to fit into this new system, and it was very clear that Slot favoured other players. And that's what was going to happen. You get a new manager in, you might not be favoured, and that's unfortunately what's happened to Harvey Elliott. He's just been lost in the shuffle. Now, I know I mentioned he had an injury, but this player is not injury prone. The broken foot is the first injury he's had in a couple of seasons. So that, to me, is a good sign, because West Ham will normally sign injury-prone players. We're talking, our latest example, Nicholas Füllkrug. Again, I'm excited for Füllkrug. I don't know if you guys have seen the video that he posted on the West Ham socials yesterday, but it's really good. Go check out A Day in the Life of Füllkrug. It shows that this guy really has a bit of character to him, and we should give him more time to kind of settle into West Ham life and West Ham culture. So why does this transfer excite me? Well, Harvey Elliott is still only 22 years old. He still has so much untapped potential, and I just believe that once he gets in a rhythm, once he gets in the flow, and he will begin to show the quality that we know is there from his years at Liverpool. Now, as I say, yes, it hasn't worked out for him in the last season, and maybe, that isn't just down to Arne Slot coming in, but you cannot deny him from a West Ham sense that players will get dropped when a new manager comes in. It's not unlikely for a manager to go, no, I don't really fancy this player, doesn't really suit the system, and I don't want to use him. And now that has piqued the interest of West Ham, because not only his ex-West Ham employee reported it, but Jacob Steinberg reported it. And interestingly, it was reported as soon as Malik Juff's sort of, I believe we already agreed the fee by that point. This is, the medical hadn't been completed, which it now has been, by the way. There could be an announcement as I'm recording this. I like the speed of it. I like the fact that it's very clear that Carl McCauley and Graham Potter have got a set of players that they want, and they can go, right, we've got this player, left back, we now want to get the midfielder. Because if you look at our midfield, yes, it was abhorrent last season, but we've already lost 2 midfielders, if you think about it, because we lost Carlos Soler. And even though maybe he didn't fit in at West Ham, maybe it wasn't his best season, I actually quite like Soler. I like his work rate. I like what he did on the pitch. I thought he always ran a lot, which I know is not always the nicest of things to say about a player, but I always thought he was very versatile, and he always gave his all. I will always remember that Fulham goal, just because of what it meant at the time. We were in a state of unknowing at that point in the season. It wasn't really the best time to be a West Ham fan, and then Soler comes in and scores an absolute banger. And at that point, I was like, sign him up. I understand why we didn't, by the way. The wage bill was so heavy. But why am I talking about Carlos Soler? Well, because I see him and Harvey Elliott being somewhat similar. And when I say that, I do not mean in quality. I think Harvey Elliott's ceiling is much, much higher than Carlos Soler's. I do. But they're versatile. Harvey Elliott can play on the right, he can play in the centre attacking mid, he can play in the centre. He's got so much versatility, and that's what Graham Potter will like. Graham Potter is a very fluid manager. He likes to move players around, maybe not have players have one certain position. And Harvey Elliott brings that. Again, he brings the age of the squad down. He's 22. He did so well in the Euros for England. Top quality player. Had a really good tournament. And if you want to compare it on the metric alone of the under-21s, it's very clear that we have been looking, because we're also looking at James McAtee, who I'm not as invested in. Not saying it would be a bad signing, get another young player, but I think he's gone off the boil a little bit. I think the years at Man City and a few unfortunate loans haven't done him well, whereas Harvey Elliott, although he's barely been a fixture at Liverpool in the main team, he still manages to have really good fitness, really good sharpness, Again, that versatility to me, him being able to kind of replace Mohamed Kudus and Carlos Soler in one is great, because I am aware we do have Lewis Orford, Freddie Potts, George Earthy, who has actually sustained an injury. So best wishes to him, and hopefully he can compete in as much as pre-season as possible. The price tag, it's 40 million for Harvey Elliott with a like a buyback clause for Liverpool, or 50 million with no buyback clause. Now I know what some of you fans would be thinking. We've been told we have to sell before we buy, and that would be all the Kudus money gone. I hear you, but this is such a decent price for a player of Harvey Elliott's. Not only calibre, but potential. And again, I get its potential. But this is why, as West Ham fans, when we say we want to sign young players and then we spend the big bucks, you can't complain. You got to do one or the other. You can't sit there and go, oh, I want young players with lots of potential, and then you have to spend the big bucks. You can't have it one way and not the other. But also, I know I've mentioned a lot of untapped potential. He's a proven goal scorer in the Premier League, in all of the cups. He's not like someone that can't get the job done. He's done very well in the Under-21 Euros for England. Just a man who is genuinely, when we spoke about years ago when we first got into Europe, the lack of experience that those players would have going into Europe. Now, I know West Ham aren't in Europe this season, but what I'm telling you is he's got the experience. He will, even though he's 22, he'll bring in a myriad of just experience that he's gained from being at the top level at Anfield, and that is something that will be useful to a lot of players. And hopefully, because it will be the goal of Graham Potter, to get back into Europe when we do, then he will be a great asset there too, because he's been there, done it, got the T-shirt. He'll be a player that you wouldn't have to sit there and go, oh, we don't know how he's going to deal with European football. And also, again, I like the age profile. You look at our midfield, it's pretty old. So to have a young 22-year-old in there with legs would be pretty nice. Is the next youngest Lucas Paqueta? Is it Lucas Paqueta? I think so. It's a player we need. I really hope we do get him. But again, there's only coming down because this is one of the players that I know. Of course, if we don't get him and we get linked to some random player from Germany, for example, I'll be happy to sign it. I'm not saying we're not being linked to other players, because we are. I'm really happy to see the amount of midfield links we've got. We've got players from all over the Premier League, some of the relegated sides. We've got some Southampton, Leicester players we've been looking at. That's just what we've been told. I think Fernandes is one of those I would not be against. But if it was up to me and I could make one signing this summer, Harvey Elliott would be on that list. Just because I think he is fantastic. I think he has got the bit between his teeth. I just think he needs to run in a team. And that's it. It's not as a bad signing as it would seem, because his minutes have been so stunted. Again, the price tag's hefty, but he's going to become an England international one day, especially if he joins a team like West Ham or a lower down team where he can get minutes. And I'm fairly sure that, after a couple of seasons, if he didn't make Europe, he'd probably want to be out of here. But he's a player that can help you get into Europe. He's a player that understands the Premier League. He's a player that will know what it means for a club to go into Europe. And I also think he'll get on well with Graham Potter. I think he'll like the vibe of the club. I think the fans will really resonate with him. He seems like a good lad. Every time you see him in interviews and stuff, he seems like a good energy for the camp. That to me is important. I also think as well, it's a pretty easy transfer for him in terms of the fact that there's no rivalry between Liverpool and West Ham. He's a young lad. He's not kind of defecting to a rival team. Mohamed Kudus has just opted to go to Spurs. It's a very different transfer to that. He can just come here with a fresh start in London and just give it his all, really, and just see what happens. And this is wishful thinking, because all it is that we're preparing a bid. We haven't had the bid yet. This might never happen. This video could age like milk. But for me, he's just the guy I look at and go, if we get Harvey Elliott in, my levels of excitement for the season go up like that. It's that simple. It's very rare that one player can do that. You have to get the right player in, and I think Harvey Elliott is that, because I think he fills so many gaps in our team. He's got the legs in the midfield. He can run he can play cam. If you want to play Bowen centrally, he can play on the right. It's interesting, and you have to remember as well, Potter doesn't just play the three at the back. I know that's what we talk about as like the default. He has been known to play a 4 at the back, and if so, I think I could either allow Harvey Elliott to go into that attacking mid position or on the right again if we want to play Bowen centrally. So Harvey Elliott to me is just the perfect signing. Again, price tag might be a bit hefty, but I think if you're going to splash out on one of the players this season, Harvey Elliott would be the perfect choice. But let me know in the comments below, guys, what do you guys think about Harvey Elliott? Would you guys like to see him at West Ham? Please do let me know. Remember to like, comment and subscribe, as it really does help the channel out. Thank you guys all so much for the support so far, and I'll see you guys soon. Take it easy. Bye-bye.